Hello and a warm welcome to Forever Blues, your podcast for all things Birmingham City. My name's Neil Moxley. My co-host's name is Colin Tattum. We are the Brad Pitt and Ryan Gosling of the Birmingham City podcast scene, or although alternatively Waldorf and Statler for those old enough to remember the Muppets in back in the day. Anyway, enough of this. Our grateful thanks to Davison's Law for sponsoring the podcast as always, and we're going to move straight into it with a dissection of what went wrong at the Bet365 Stadium on Saturday afternoon, Col.
Yeah, disappointing defeat, wasn't it? Back-to-back league defeats for Blues, first time for Chris Davis as well. And I think the underlying problem was the opening sort of half hour, 35 minutes. Stoke came out the traps very aggressive. They were direct, got forward runners, and they were deserving of the lead that they got. They got after Blues. There was good movement, as I said. Thomas, the wide player, and Manhoff on the other side gave Alex Cochrane quite a few problems in the one-to-one duels. And Blues didn't really get going until the second half, when, similar to the Leicester City game, they were chasing it 1-0 down. They had a lot of possession, a lot of territory, but just didn't get enough shots away or big chances created, and didn't work the keeper enough. And as a result, I wouldn't say it was comfortable for Stoke to see out to get the win, but Blues didn't. They could have done more, and they should have done more really to try to search for an equaliser to get something from the game. Credit to Stoke, I felt that they did defend very well throughout the match. I mentioned there they were very physical and aggressive. None more so than the goal scorer, Lowell, who I thought was excellent, and obviously he got the goal from the set piece, and also then a little bit later it was a tremendous block from Jay Stansfield. Blues that was their biggest moment of the first half, but that epitomised the way that they played. They were very honest, aggressive, organised, and in that opening spell, like I said, 30-35 minutes, they caused Blues a lot of problems. They stretched them, and Blues just weren't functioning.
Yeah, I mean, areas for concern, we'll go through it. I'll pretty much choose a topic and you can discuss it, but first things first, obviously the goal, it's come from a set piece. We saw against Port Vale that Blues looked jittery. I know it was a different backline. Blues looked jittery all night against set pieces. In that League Cup tie, and again they've conceded. Well, they conceded from one of them at Stoke. Set pieces, decide games at the highest level routinely. And having had a look at it, they seem to deploy some sort of hybrid man-for-man stroke zonal marking system. But I think that Stoke got a workaround with that. I mean, when they scored the goal, what was your take on it?
Yeah. Looking at it, Blues tend to, like you said, have 3 or 4 players on the edge of the 6-yard box, marking that zone, a man on the front post, and it tends to be Neumann, Clara, and then in the first half it was Laird as that sort of 3. But as Stoke showed, if a ball goes to the back post and you take out the 3 main sort of jumpers, if you want, it causes problems, and Wilson Lowell came in, and Jay Stansfield were with him, and it's a little bit of a mismatch, and he got the jump on him. But that said, it was still a strange goal. It was a looping header that went in high into the net. Obviously, Blues, they're more comfortable. They believe that's the way to go, to defend in set pieces and corners with that hybrid, as you said, part zonal, part man for man. Maybe that's something that they do have to look at. I mean, the Port Vale game, it was a different back four. It was a little bit different, and apart from that goal, I mean, Blues then dealt with set pieces fine. So I don't know. It's one of those, isn't it? I always like man to man and win that individual battle with your immediate opponent and be aggressive and run to sort of attack the ball. I'm not sure you can always do that if you've got some players, especially your tallest centre halves, who are quite static really, and they're jumping up rather than running and with somebody, if that makes sense. So yeah, it is an issue that I'm sure that Blues will look at.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the second sort of point, Alex Cochrane got the run around a little bit at left back. a lot of the stuff seemed to be coming down his side. Was he getting adequate protection? Were they dealing with the ball in front of him and also that went in behind him well enough, do you think?
It wasn't so much that. You've got to give Stoke credit. They moved it out wide quickly.
Right.
And the right winger, Manoff, was just literally a push and run, and it was causing Cochrane problems. And same on the other side, Thomas was very lively and down the middle. Mubama, the centre forwards movement was very good. He was very sprightly, and those three were causing problems because of the movement, because of the forward running, and they were prepared to turn and run at Blues' defence, so it unhinged them a little bit. It was a rocky spell, but Blues did get a measure of themselves and a little bit more of Stoke, especially in the second half. But as I'm sure we'll move on to, it goes then to what can you do in that final third of the pitch when it matters for you in an attacking sense.
Yeah, we've had 2 games away from home now, and I don't think there's been a shot on target, a worthwhile shot on target in either of them, to be perfectly honest with you. What do you see as the main issues with going forward? Because they've got enough ball, they can keep the ball. Well done, they've proved they can keep the ball and dominate possession. But possession without any end product is pretty pointless.
But personally, I think, I'm not teaching anyone to suck eggs here, but if Blues can just move the ball quicker, a little quicker, even 10, 15-yard passes, look to play it forward as well, played between the lines, that could help. And also look for runners in behind, spin it down to the channel sometimes, just mix it up a little bit. And I think what we also do have to remember, there's certain mitigating circumstances. Chris Davis, Blues recruitment team, basically looked to, in their eyes, upgrade those front areas. So a lot of the players that came in were for those for the frontline positions, and they're still to be assimilated. They're still to build up understanding. Obviously, Patrick Roberts, that was his debut. He had 60 minutes. Marvin Dutch isn't quite yet up to speed after his pre-season when he was injured. So they are still sort of feeling their way a little bit. People say, "Oh, that's no excuse," but it will be difficult to hit the ground running straight away, and other teams are finding this as well. Once Chris Davies settles on what he believes will work, or his first choice front line is, let's see it after 5 games in a row.
Yeah.
Let's see if they can build those combinations and understandings, because at the moment it's not quite there. And I think also that when you are chasing a game, there's a bit of pressure on you. Blues probably did rush a lot of things as well in the final third, a bit of over-eagerness. And like I said, Mox, I know the reaction, it goes nuclear now on social media, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There's no middle ground. It's 5 games into the season and Blues aren't a basket case. Most of us, and I'm sure the management team, know what they need to do and what they need to implement. So it's not beyond hope. And also, let's not forget, this is a team that's come up from third tier, and that again they're up against better opposition, better prepped opposition.
Yeah.
So again, that's something you've got to factor in as well. And maybe we all got a little bit carried away with the world record points tally in League One, expecting Blues to just steamroller and carry on with that momentum, but it's not as straightforward as that.
No, I thought of the phrase in the immediate aftermath, reality check. I think we've had that after the Leicester City and Stoke City away performances. I don't think it's broken, but I think it needs fine tuning. Let's put it like that. I don't think pounding the rock is going to work in this league because for a couple of reasons. Mainly because the defensive setups are that much stronger in this league. If you watch teams, they will get back into shape quickly. The way to cause problems is to capitalise on any chaos, and you don't do that by delaying your passes into the final third. It just allows teams to get even in 0.5 of a second, somebody can move back into position, move a couple of yards closer to the ball, or stop a cross, or it makes a difference at this level. And decisiveness and speed of thought and speed of passing, it counts, And I think that Chris Davis has got to look at that in the next, before we play Swansea, really.
Yeah, I think it's all good points there, and I think in some ways Blues have been almost conditioned to playing that way because last year they would circulate the ball and the opposition were like, oh no, here they come again, there's another wave of attacks, and it worked at that level.
Yeah.
This is a little bit different, so yeah, there's got to be a few tweaks there. And like I said, Paik and Iwata do certain jobs, but if people close on them, teams close on them, make that middle a bit more compact and chase and harry them, then that puts them off their stride and also puts Blues off their stride a little bit, so it gets a bit disjointed for me. And the other thing is as well, I mean, even Chris Davis touched upon this himself about the fabled number 10 position. He's tried a number of players there already this season, so I know we're probably going to come on to Tommy Doyle, your course célèbre, but
yeah,
he was given a go there at Stoke City and eventually he came off. But personally, I'm not so sure that's his position, but as you know, you've seen him a lot more than me. What's your take on who should be playing that sort of position for Blues right now?
I honestly thought with Paik being away for a double, with his international side, it was a really good opportunity for Chris Davis to put Doyle in, alongside Iwata. He's a fresh pair of legs. He's hardly played. Paik's been halfway around the world. Got a few minutes in the legs. He's rushed back to get here. I honestly thought it was a really good opportunity for Chris Davis to sort of say to Paik, look, get your breath back. I'll put you on the bench or whatever and call you on if you need it, and play Doyle in his proper position. I thought our brightest bit in the first half came from Patrick Roberts. Slightly a little bit of fleetness of foot, got Ethan Laird down the right, and he pulled it back for that Stansfield chance that you've talked about earlier on. So I think there were the odd flashes, but I just didn't see. For me, I'd like to see Doyle tried in there, and do you know what? I might shut up about it then, because one way or the other, the thesis will be proved. Do you know what I mean? People are right to say yes, he can play there, or no, he can't. I mean, I still think he can, but whether or not Blues 4-2-3-1 suits him, not exactly sure.
I think Chris Davis said for this particular game he felt there'd be a bit more solidity if he played in that 10 role away from home. So I get the thinking there. My own view, I think I'd like to see Dux there for a prolonged spell, because that was when he was at his most productive at Werder Bremen.
Right.
Just playing not as a front striker, just off, like almost as a 2 really. And I would like to see him and Stansfield try to develop some sort of understanding there. But also, you get the ball into your 10 as soon as you can to try to, he's a bit different to Willem Williamson as a 10 in that role. But I'd like to see him get a run of games, get up to speed, and then let's see how that can make Blues attack. Whether that makes Blues a little bit more dynamic and a little bit less predictable in getting into those areas.
Yeah, I just think that there's a lack of. I think you've hit the nail on the head with respect to talking about the conditioning. I mean, there was a beautiful snapshot of it when we're chasing the game in the last quarter, and Christoph Clara's broken free with the ball, and Kyogo's made a run, and he's just basically, he's looked at it and thought, do you know what? No, I'll pop it off, and popped it sideways, and then Stoke got back. Kyogo's thrown his hands in the air because he's made a run and nobody's played him in. And we've failed to put their back line under any pressure. I did get the feeling last year it was a little bit like football by numbers. A little bit like we'll play the percentage, and sooner or later we'll score a goal. And yeah, listen, you have to take your hat off. It worked. It absolutely worked. So I am not criticising that approach one iota. However, you've got to raise your game, and you've got to, it's not as cut and dried in the second tier of English football as perhaps it is in the third. These players aren't markedly better than anything else in the division. It's not, you can't go round expecting just pass, and then expect an opening to come after 15 minutes possession football. Teams will expect to be moved around and will know what to do to counter that. You're going to have to be a bit cuter.
Yeah, and again, this brings you back to the reason why Demarai Gray, Patrick Roberts have come in.
Yeah,
those two would be, you'd imagine, the first choice starters for those wide positions. I thought Roberts, he struggled a little bit to get involved into the game, which is understandable, especially first half. Stoke were in the ascendancy, but then he did show interesting flashes, and he reminded me a little bit of Even Sanchez, a sort of more souped up, scurrying version. He can see a pass. He did that clever reverse ball. And you can definitely see that, again, when he's had a run of games, I think he will be quite a big influence on this Blues team, especially at home. He knows the division. He's proven it at this level as well. So again, maybe we do have to show a little bit of patience, temper all the expectations, and give this team a little bit time to breathe as well. We're 5 games into the season. I'm just thinking maybe we have been a bit spoiled with the success of last season and the expectation, the owners, everything's different around the club. For the last 7, 8, 9 years, we've been it's just been one big sigh and disappointment after another every game where we've been expected to lose. Yeah. So I guess now everyone's gnashing and wailing of teeth because we've lost at Leicester and Stoke and, not really laid a glove in terms of shots on target and drama and excitement and goal mouths scrambles to really sort of come away and say, oh, can't believe we didn't win that, the amount of chances we created, sort of thing. So again, we just maybe got to show a little bit of patience. I know that's probably not what people want to hear, but we just might have to do that and just like you said, not so much a reality check, but just temper them expectations and appreciate the division we're in, and it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really get any easier either, does it? I mean, we've got Swansea on Saturday. I think I saw something somewhere saying they'd spent the most money or the second most money in the championship this season.
I think it's roughly the second biggest net spend.
Second biggest net spend. Yeah. So they're clearly having a bit of a go. Swansea have been on a downward spiral themselves for a little bit, so they'll be coming here with expectations of their own. What do you hope, think, want to see on Saturday, and what do you think we will see?
In effect, I think, and I can imagine the manager will want this. So you just want Blues to play with intensity from the off, try to engage the crowd. But I can't stand 12:30 kickoffs. I think they suit the away team because it's just a flat atmosphere at lunchtime kickoffs. But that's another issue. I think he'll want them to be aggressive and just start on the front foot, close people down, put some tackles in. And as he said himself, which is quite a strong word, he said Blues were quite soft. He said he's not seen a team that soft, one of his teams that soft. So again, that should hurt the players, and that should make them bristle a little bit. So yeah, be a bit more aggressive, and then let's see if there have been a few tweaks in terms of when Blues get into those final third positions. But yeah, that's what you like, and hopefully the cards will fall our way. But as you mentioned there, Mark, Swansea, I think they're unbeaten in 6, but ahead of the Carabao Cup game in midweek. They had a ownership change last November, I think, and and a lot of people in South Wales are saying it's been their best ever transfer window, similar to Blues. They've 17 departures, 12 came in.
Right.
But what they've done, it looks like they've toured up in every area of their squad, and they've got a lot of good options now.
Yeah, I mean I think it's been a bit of a baptism, if truth be told, this season for Blues. They haven't been handed the easiest of starts by any stretch of the imagination. They've had a couple of relegated sides. They've had another side with parachute payments in Sheffield United in the Carabao Cup. Two tough away games, and now they're facing a side at home that's had has got expectations of its own this season. I think it's going to be a question, mate, of really everybody keeping the nerve really and holding the nerve rather than and allowing, like you said, the side to breathe, to develop, to try and to find its own feet. But it's a devil's own job, when you've got points to pick up. And the reaction after Saturday night coming and reading, social media, which is never a great place to be at the best of times. It was almost everybody had almost seemingly lost their mind. They're going for the deep end. I'm not criticising fans because that's where we are. It's great that there's an expectation level. I'm not criticising anybody, but I'm just like I did think to myself, look, wow,
Yeah, and like you said, it's a 46 game season in the Championship, and just going back to Swansea. they're similar to Blues. There's now an optimism around them. They're a club that they feel that they're on the up. You know, they've got Luka Modric and Snoop Dogg are part of the sort of co-owners of part of the consortium that took them over, which is bizarre in itself. You know, and then on deadline day they spent £6 million on Adam Idar from Celtic. Also brought in Manuel Benson from Burnley, 2 good signings. So again, we're all looking for Blues to bounce back. We're expecting, they've got to do this, got to do that. You've got to factor in the opposition.
Yeah.
They're decent, Swansea are. They're a good team.
Yeah.
And they're capable of scoring goals as well. The lad, the Slovenian international, Zan Vipotnik, I think. Vipotnik. Sorry for our Slovenian friends out
Slovakian or Slovenian?
Slovenian.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, he's in a bit of a goal scoring, good goal scoring form as well. But he didn't score a lot last season, so
yeah,
he's now, maybe things are happening for him, and he's, the team's changed a little bit, suits him a little bit more. These things can happen. So, but yeah, they will be a threat, and it won't be easy for Blues. But you just hope that we put in a really honest, aggressive performance on the front foot, and like I said, then we'll see where the cards fall.
Yeah, I think Benson was one of the ones we were looking at actually in the.
Yeah, he's a decent player, isn't he? He's got a good rep.
Yeah, I think that was possibly actually in the last January transfer window. I don't think that's come out, but he's definitely on our radar. Just going back to the team selection, Cole, do you think, Clara? We sort of like saw it at first pre-season game, didn't we? And just against Nottingham Forest, and he switched Clara to the left-hand side and Neumann to the right. Do you think it's working, or do you think it's unsettled things a little bit?
It wasn't an issue when Blues
No.
drew against Ipswich and etc. It is now, but you can see it is a bit awkward for him. I mean, Christophe Clara, as we saw again, this was last season in League One, stepping forward, striding forward. He was ending up playing as an inside right, just as we camped out in the opposition's half. We're never going to be able to do that in the Championship, but moving him over to the left, it is a little bit awkward for him. Even Chris Davis has said as well that the passing angles, the passing lanes are different.
Yeah.
So maybe he needs to look at that balance. But
is this one of the things that gets flagged up when teams aren't?
Yeah, exactly.
Teams aren't winning because nobody was pointing it out when we beat Blackburn away from home.
There's a lot of that, but that's the beauty
Oxford
of football, isn't it? We're all experts, and we have hindsight on our side as well.
Yeah.
But the Blues' whole great story in Phil Neumann, they were after him for over a year. So they do believe as a pair that they can work, and it will take some adjustment. And that's why I think Alex Cochrane came back in as well, a natural left footer, to give that balance with on the left hand side. Because if you were playing Laird there again, you've got a lot of right footers, and the opposition will know that as well. So it is an issue, and I know it has been flagged up. So it'll be fascinating to see how Blues tweak things.
Yeah.
I don't think necessarily they will drop Neumann and put Clara there and bring Robertson. I don't think so. But yeah, it's another little tweak, another wrinkle that has to be ironed out.
Yeah, I mean the good thing he has got with his front, and it's something that Blues recruitment team did want, was this flexibility. Does Kim Keshi Anderson count himself a little bit lucky not to have started and whatever, because he does offer. I know you're looking at Dimmy. He does offer us balance on that left hand side.
He's an honest soldier as well, and he will work really, really hard. So he's been unfortunate. Obviously now he's got injured. He won't be available ahead of the next break, which
Right.
is unfortunate. Same as Willem Williamson. But yeah, he can be. But then Blues brought in these players for a reason, to hopefully to help.
Yeah.
Make the team better and also increase the squad depth and competition. But yeah, Keshi Anderson has done very, very well since walking through the door, hasn't he? And he's always been a reliable performer, and also the stats back up when he does play. Blues have a very good winning record.
Yeah.
Again, that was League One, as we know, last season. But yeah, I take the point. He's can count himself quite unlucky, but unfortunately, he has had injury issues as well.
Yeah, he has. I think that's caused him more issues, than perhaps he would have liked in his career, hasn't it? To be honest. Again, just going back to sort of problems or otherwise up front. I mean, who would you have started with? Is Kyogo still? I mean, he found himself on the bench on Saturday, didn't he?
I said I'd like to see Stansfield at the top with Ducks sort of just playing with him or closer to him.
Yeah.
Almost like a two.
And where do you think Kyogo fits in?
Come off the bench.
Coming off the bench.
Because I don't think at the moment he's finishing. He has missed chances, and also the runs and the movement he's making. Maybe the team's not used to it. They're not picking him out.
Yeah.
So that's I'm not the manager, but that's the way I'd go at the moment.
Yeah, I mean away from home, particularly if we're pushing or looking to hit teams on the break, I would have thought Kyogo was a sort of ideal guy to have. He's I think the time however he's managed to work it out, these runs are excellent. He pulls himself away from centre halves and runs into spaces. It's just to me as an onlooker, it's a source of frustration. I'm sure it is to the rest of the crowd as well.
You needed someone to slide rule pass into him, don't you?
Yeah,
and
you do.
I don't know. We had Alfie May and Jay Stansfield. Similar-ish type, but he's more of a box poacher. But he's just not quite clicked yet. And again, it goes back to it's assimilation of a lot of new players, especially in the in those attacking areas where you've got to give them a little bit of time to work out what fits, what works, what doesn't, and what runs they make and where they like the ball.
Well, look, I think that just about wraps up things, this podcast with myself and Colin. As per usual, just like to say thank you to our sponsors, Davison's Law, and our co-sponsors, who are Bewdley Spirits, Drain Tech, and AMG Logistics. So don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you all back here again for a dollop of good news after the Swansea game. Bye for now.